Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nugget Bridge Invitational. I'm here with Scott. We're replacing Bears and Dwee, and we're going to be doing the semifinals and finals here. Scott, how you doing today?
Howdy, good to be here.
All right. Well, we have the defending champion here, Cybertron. He's ready. He just smoked Aaron Trailer in the round of eight. We've seen his team before: Scizor, Breloom, Hydreigon. Uh, Tyranitar, Volcarona, and Tornadus. Uh, Scott, you obviously seen the team already. Anything he's hiding, you think?
It looks pretty straightforward to me. I'm hoping that he's hiding some tricks just because these matches are a lot more fun when we don't see things coming, but it looked like pretty typical Aaron stuff. We've seen Breloom from him before with that Rain team. I don't think he's ever made a team without Scizor in his entire life, even when Scizor was banned in 2011. The other Pokemon are all pretty standard, and I think that's a good way to play for him. He's got more offensively oriented common Pokemon, which is the way he usually does it, and clearly it's working out for him. He won the Invitational last time. He qualified for Worlds. He's doing well in this Invitational. Hard to argue with what he's doing.
And on the top screen you see right here is Plusle, the underdog right now. He's 15th seed. His team, as you can see, is Cresselia, Thundurus, Rotom W, Escavalier, Hitmontop, and Tyranitar. It looks like I guess a trick room looking team. Scott, you're pretty familiar with these types of teams.
Yeah, if it is Trick Room, I'll of course be rooting for him because Trick Room is the best strategy and everyone should use it. There's a few things on his team that do stand out to me. A Rotom Washing Machine was a Pokemon I wasn't huge on in this rule set until US Nationals, but it did a whole lot of work in the Masters division at least. A lot of people were running the more defensive Rotom W with Will-O-Wisp rather than the more offensive variant we'd kind of seen for most of the last year and a half, similar to what Junpei ran at Worlds. So I'll be interested to see if he's using an offensive version or if he's using the more defensive support-oriented version that was frustrating a lot of teams at U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, what makes Rotom W better than the rest?
I think it's just the defensive presence. The other Rotoms pretty much just get stuck blasting away with Overheat or Leaf Storm or whatever and then get blown up pretty easily, but it's got great defensive typing. Uh, because of its typing, it can afford to use its EVs a little more defensively and get Will-O-Wisp off and just kind of frustrate the other team. I don't think there's a whole lot of other Pokemon in this game other than Misdreavus, apparently, who can kind of just stall it out and troll with Will-O-Wisp the way it can.
And game one starting right here. We got turn one. Cybertron leads his Defiant Tornadus straight into that Intimidate Hitmontop. Looks like Plusle fell for the trap. He may not have known about the Defiant. Uh, I wonder what's going on in his head right now, especially with that strong nuke that Tornadus has. But again, Plusle does have that Thunderous, which can threaten that Tornadus.
It should be a fun turn here. I'm sure Aaron's rubbing his hands together with glee after getting that Defiant boost, but he does have Hydreigon out against Hitmontop and Tornadus out against Thundurus, so from a typing perspective, not a great turn from him, but he does have the speed advantage and the power advantage, so we'll see if he can find a way to actually use it. I think he's going to have a hard time actually using the Defiant boost in Tornadus just because between the fake out pressure on turn 1 and Thundurus existing on turn 2, it's not too likely he'll actually get it off, but he's just going to have to predict around fake out really well here if he wants to get anything done with Tornadus. Otherwise, we're going to see some switches here.
Yeah, especially with the prankster Thunderous, which could easily neuter the Tornadus with a quick Thunder Wave, and make Tornadus absolutely just no threat at all because it relies entirely upon its speed and that Defiant boost. With no speed, I don't think it's really doing anything.
Yeah, it's one of the cases where the support side, we got two support Pokemon against two sweepers on Aaron's side, and I think I prefer the support Pokemon here just because there's a little different type of threat. But still, when you're threatening to paralyze something versus threatening to knock it out, yeah, there's not quite the same amount of danger for both directions. So, not too bad of a spot for either side, but it's tricky. It's easier for either side here to lose a Pokemon or get one of your important sweepers completely taken out of the game by being paralyzed, basically. So they're both going to have to be a little careful here because it wouldn't be too hard for either side to get a big advantage.
Yeah, Plusle seems to be really thinking about this turn because it can go either way for both of them. Of course, here he goes, launches the fake out on that Tornadus, and oh, we see a substitute for this Thunderous. This seems something I haven't seen in a long time from Thunderous. And Hydreigon is doing the Draco Meteor that it's known for, and I believe that survives that Hitmontop. Yes. Wow, that it must be EV'd for that.
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry,
say.
trained.
I hope so. Otherwise, heck of a roll, right? But not what I expected there. I love Substitute Thunderous, actually. It's something you're right, we haven't seen a whole lot of. It was really popular in 2011, but it sort of died off in 2012 and on in favor of some other moves, most notably Taunt and Swagger, I guess, more recently than that. But I think it's still really dangerous, especially when you're against a dragon like this, because repeated Draco Meteors are going to do less and less damage as you keep wasting them on substitutes. And it also lets it be a little safer against Tornadus here, who would still actually be able to do really nice damage to it with acrobatics because of the boost. So even though damage-wise, not a very good turn for Plusle there, almost loses Hitmontop, who just barely hangs on. But at least he gets the substitute up, and at least he gets the substitute up. I guess that's really all the positive things I could say there. But could be worse. Hitmontop's still kicking and didn't get knocked out yet.
Hitmontop surviving that it threatens that Tornadus now if it does have a sucker punch and could really put Cybertron on his heels really quickly. Surviving an attack like that is really rare, and it probably affects Cybertron a lot more than it does Plusle.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, Hitmontop's a really irritating Pokemon, even when its health is low. If Plusle has a safe switch here, he can just withdraw Hitmontop and bring it back in later for the fake out pressure and the Intimidate again. So just having it alive, it's one of those Pokemon where even if it probably won't be able to get the close combat off very easily in the rest of the game, if you preserve it, it can still be useful, but doesn't look like he's going to go that route here.
Tornadus, Acrobatics is going to get that Acrobatics off. It's always a big move, and targets that Thunderous. And it's not very effective. The substitute does fade. And we get an electric gem. Is that surprising at all? Especially with a substitute. I would expect a citrus berry.
I usually expect the more offensive items with Substitute, because that's part of what Substitute lets you do. By using Substitute, you're not taking the Draco Meteors straight up, so you can afford to invest your EVs a little more offensively. So I think Aaron probably was expecting an electric gem there and just kind of thought it was worth it to trade one for one there.
Yeah, a big turn for both players. They both have one Pokemon left on the field, and they're going to have to bring some switch-ins here. From the options that both players have, anything striking out? Here's Aaron's switch-in, a Volcarona, which seems vaguely threatening, especially since Plusle brings in a Cresselia.
So I'm a little surprised we didn't see Tyranitar from Aaron's side here. I'm assuming by the fact we didn't see it that he didn't bring it, which I guess sort of makes sense because he would have had two dark types. But with a team that has both Cresselia and Thunderous Incarnate form, I expect to see Tyranitar get picked. It's probably part of the reason why it's one of the four kind of definitive best Pokemon in the metagame right now is because it beats both of those other two. So a little surprised we don't see that here. Volcarona is still a good choice. Potentially can threaten a bunch of damage on Thunderous Eye, though it could have Hidden Power Flying, which would be a bit of a pain for Volcarona. And also, obviously, it has Bug Buzz to help deal with Cresselia. Of course, its buddy Hydreigon's special attack is still reduced from using Draco Meteor in the first turn. So I think even though we've got two more defensive Pokemon on Plusle's side who don't necessarily like their typing here a whole lot, not too bad of a spot for him to be in.
Yeah, the Volcarona surprises me a bit because the Tyranitar is such a threatening Pokemon against Plusle. And right here, the Thunder Wave is a threat against the Volcarona, so you can't really get a Quiver Dance off or anything. Here comes Aaron switching the Hydreigon out into his lovely Puke Scizor.
We just can't get rid of it.
Yeah, I thought he changed. He didn't. And Volcarona's gonna tank that Thunderbolt pretty well and fire off a strong Heat Wave. But Cresselia's gonna get that Trick Room off. I don't know how I feel about that turn at all, really.
Yeah, not a very favorable change of events for Plusle there. It looks like you were right there reading the Trick Room on the team preview, and I think Plusle expected to be in a little bit better of a position from a speed perspective after doing that, but I would assume by him doing that his last Pokemon is probably a Scavalier. But still, he has to deal with this fire type Volcarona now. Scissor came in at just the right turn and will probably be able to underspeed and knock out Cresselia here. Volcarona threatening Thundurus, who probably doesn't want to paralyze Volcarona anymore because the speed reduction would actually benefit Aaron under Trick Room. A really tough spot because of a brilliant switch there. And Aaron, probably the most experienced Scissor player in the world, and showing us what that can do for you there with a great switch to put himself in a good position.
Yeah, the Scizor and Volcarona both threaten whatever, Plusle can bring out. I mean, he could have that Tyranitar as his Trick Room sweeper. I obviously, and you obviously, expect the Escavalier, but he needs to take care of that Volcarona really quickly here if he wants to stay in this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough for him to actually get it in, even if it is Tyranitar. Both bug types on the other side could easily ravage it. Even just taking a Bug Buzz, which should do less than Bug Bite, would nearly knock it out.
And Plusle opting not to switch, probably waiting for a safe switch in. Aaron opting not for the Swords Dance, which he usually does, for the Bug Bite, which does sizable damage, puts it in the red, and it has a Chesto Berry, so that kind of gives Aaron a lot of information there. Could be a Chesto Rest.
Yeah, one of the really good things on Scissor there is that not only does Bug Bite do a bunch more damage because of the Technician boost, but one of the reasons its original power is lower is because it has that cool additional property of eating berries. So he gets some good information there about Cresselia's set, which is also important because he has Breloom, and even though he didn't choose to bring Breloom in this game, I don't think it is a terrible matchup with Plusle's team, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it in a future game, and now he'll know. He won't walk into that trap and spore the Chesto Berry.
Yeah, that is big for Aaron in future games. Of course, Plusle still has Trick Room up, so Escavalier is a threat, uh, but
Apparently
Plusle
not too
does
big of
give
a
it
threat.
up. Yeah, doesn't want to risk revealing anything about his Escavalier. First game going to Aaron Cybertron Zhang.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about that. And we see a lot of players like kind of disrespectfully running when they know the game is lost. But a best of three series like this, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could have got some information there. I mean, I don't know. I guess with Aaron's team, like we know what this scissor is. It's been the same scissor for literally over a year now. So I guess you weren't going to learn too much there. But I mean, yeah, maybe fire off a Mega Horn or something. Figure out the damage calc. I don't know. I just I feel like you got to try to learn some stuff because this Cavalier is another Pokemon that, unless he's running something really crazy, isn't too subtle. So you're not going to give anything up.
Especially with Heat Wave being uh, Volcarona's main form of damage there. He could have, take care of that Scizor, hope for Heat Wave miss, and still would have been in it. But I guess he opts to not risk any luck or revealing anything, and just going to go into game two here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, he's probably got a little flustered when he hit that trick room and kind of swept himself with it. So hopefully in game two, he'll set himself up a little bit better if he wants to use it again. I do think using Trick Room against Aaron's team is a pretty good strategy. Part of one of the, I guess, mainstays of Aaron's teams tends to be that they tend to be quick and have lots of priority moves. And you get counter the actual speed pretty well with Trick Room. Still have to worry about the priority of Scissors and Breloom's priority moves with Bullet Punch and Mach Punch. But at least you can sort of turn the pressure the other way with Trick Room. So I thought he had a good idea there, but didn't time it quite as well as maybe he would have liked to there. Even if he kept Hitmontop alive, like I mentioned earlier in the game, to be able to come bring it back in later in the game and threaten with Fake Out and intimidate that Scissor that always seems to be trying to sweep, I think it's a good idea. I mean, Aaron's tendency, which I think everyone knows, is that he probably picks Scissor in about 99.9% of his games. So you've got to leave those tools that you have for dealing with Scissor alive late in the games if you haven't seen it yet. Even if he doesn't bring it, he does it enough that the threat is always there. And Hitmontop is one of those Pokemon that is important to keep alive late in games, either Hitmontop or a healthy Thundurus. And he didn't really have either that game since Volcarona was able to deal with Thundurus form, and Hitmontop was knocked out early in the game by the combination of, I guess it was just Hydreigon. Hydreigon finished it off himself. He didn't need any help.
Yeah, I mean, Plusle, I think he could have gone differently with his team matchup. I'm not sure Thundurus was absolutely necessary considering what it did in that game. And something like Rotom W could have swung the match around a little bit better for him because at the end of the day, Thunderous didn't do much for him, and I think that Rotom would have helped the matchup a lot better. And especially in when you're playing such a well-known player in Cybertron, you gotta figure the things out that he likes to use. And like you said, he uses that Scizor 99% of the time, and you gotta be ready for stuff like that.
So I'm a little torn there. I mean, it walls Scissor really well, but he uses the Electric Gem earlier in the game to pick up a different knockout, and he kind of just runs out of steam. Like, I didn't think Thundurus itself was necessarily a bad pick there, but he wasted all of his resources early in the game, knocking out Aaron's other Pokemon, and that's kind of Aaron's trap. He does that. He leaves Scissor toward the end of the game usually. He wears down the other team and then sets up a situation where Scissor can take control of the game, and that's why he's one of the best players in the world. He sets it up right there pretty well.
Both players opting to change their leads. Aaron goes with the Volcarona and Hydreigon. Plusle with the Tyranitar and Thundurus. Did they make the right choices here?
I don't know. I like Plusle's lead here a little bit better. Tyranitar more recently has been using the Choice Scarf set a lot. I would expect it's not Choice Scarfed on Plusle's team just based on the fact we've seen Trick Room and the speed of some of his other Pokemon. It's more likely it's going the slow direction. Though if it is Scarfed, it would create a whole bunch of threat here. If not, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it protect and try to get a Thunder Wave off with Thundurus here to wear down some of Aaron's Pokemon so that Tyranitar can actually get a Rock Slide off. The threat of doing that, of course, would be like we were just mentioning in the pregame, that would leave Thundurus exposed, and it's an important Pokemon to keep alive to help counter Scissor, who probably is in the back like usual. Aaron obviously could have chosen to switch it up, but Braylum's not great coming from the back most of the time. And Tornadus, too, is a little flaky sometimes, but I would be surprised if Scissor isn't one of those two, just because it's it's the Aaron MO. So gotta keep those counters healthy.
And both players, Plusle really thinking this out again because it's an important turn for him. He's got a slower team and he's got to deal with the offense that Aaron can throw at him every turn. And every single turn, Aaron's going to be throwing out a big attack, and you've got to be prepared to take those attacks and try to swing it around in your favor.
I think that's a really good point. Now we look at Plusle's team, and it's a little more standard. He's got two very support-oriented Pokemon. I guess kind of like one and two halves, with Cresselia being very defensive. It's a more offensive Thundurus Eye, but still, sort of a utility Pokemon. Rotom W, we haven't seen yet, but sort of utility. Hitmontop, almost a completely utility Pokemon, other than being able to fire off those powerful close combats, which differentiates a bit from Scrafty. But on Aaron's side, he's pretty much just got 6 sweepers, right? I mean, he's got Spore from Braylon he can use, but a lot of pressure.
And here's the turn 1. Hydreigon uses Draco Meteor on that substitute. Big for Plusle. I guess Aaron didn't see that substitute, even though Plusle used it turn 1 last game. So he's going to have a neutered Hydreigon again. And Heat Wave is probably going to do negligible damage to that Tyranitar, but pretty decent damage to that Thundurus. And Tyranitar, like you said, opted for that Rock Slide. Should pick up KO here if there's no Sash. Yep, perfect KO. And a lot of damage to that Hydreigon.
A great turn by Plusle there. He kind of won the game of chicken there. And leaving Tyranitar unprotected was risky because Aaron could easily have blown it up with Bug Buzz and Draco Meteor. But he correctly predicts that Aaron would choose not to do that and plays a little more aggressively with Tyranitar and gets a free Rock Slide off, which is just huge. He gets a knockout and does half of Hydreigon's health while also causing it to take that -2 special attack from Draco Meteor. I like you as a little surprised that Aaron chose to Draco Meteor into the substitute there because I guess it was reasonable to expect a Thunder Wave, so not a bad prediction on his end, but certainly hurts the way it happened.
Looks like we may have some connection problems. Hobson's been buffeted by the sandstorm for quite a while now. Here we go, finally. That Thunder is taking all that damage is surprising to me, though, especially considering he needs that Thundurus to counter that Scizor, and Tyranitar can't handle that Scizor at all.
Yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise, we see Scissor coming in here a little bit earlier than usual, but still, but right. Pretty good spot for Scissor to come in here. I'll be interested to see if Aaron goes for the Swords Dance, as he often does, because Bullet Punch threatening to knock out both of his opponents here, I think. I forget exactly what the damage range on Tyranitar is, especially if it's a more defensive spread, so they might be able to survive it, but certainly the combination of Scissor and Hydreigon could knock it out before it moves. So both of the Pokemon on Plusle side here are risking their imminent demise if they choose to stay in. So there's an opportunity to Swords Dance, sort of, but I think Plusle probably knows better here and will opt to get some damage off if he can to avoid giving Aaron the momentum back.
Aaron opts for none of that and uses Protect. Interesting move, and Hidden Power from Thundurus, obviously going to target that Hydreigon and pick up the KO, so big for Plusle there. He's now in the lead, 4-2, and now we see that Fire Punch from Tyranitar, so Aaron's got to think about that Fire Punch coming from that Tyranitar in the future games, and especially during this game.
Yeah, good information to get, though, but it probably scares him a bit. I didn't think his team was super Scissor weak, but having Fire Punch will definitely make it easier for him to keep it under control. And we do see Breloom, the other priority using Pokemon in Aaron's team. I actually didn't mind that free knockout there. I mean, usually falling down 4-2 is definitely not a positive thing, but given that Hydreigon was kind of stuck in there with lowered special attack and not creating any real threat, at least now he's got two Pokemon out there that are actually going to be able to do some damage. Hopefully he'll be able to get a connect with a hit or two here and trade a knockout or two, but still not a great spot for him to be in.
Aaron liked that knockout there, so you get the free switch for the Breloom, because switching Breloom in is quite a problem considering how frail it is. And now that Aaron has double priority, he can easily pick up the knockouts here and even the game immediately.
I'm interested to see what Breloom's item is. Like, normally we assume Focus Sash on it, but since he does have the Tyranitar on his team, I would assume he's using something like Life Orb or Fighting Gem instead, which would help him try to pick up that knockout on Tyranitar potentially through a defensive item.
And Plusle opting for Protect. Trying to, I guess, see what Aaron's going to do here. And Thundurus for the Thunder Wave, I guess, doing what it can while it's still alive. And Scizor, Steel Gem Bullet Punch should pick up the KO here. Yep, picks up the KO. Will not survive that. And Breloom is fully paralyzed. So Aaron, trying to even it out here with his priority. He's looking good.
Yeah, almost too bad he got, or he protected now, right, on Plusle's side. Waste is fully paralyzed, but still, he ends up in a much better position here. And like I mentioned last game, this time Plusle conserves the Hitmontop. He's threatening the Fake Out now. He gets the Intimidate on two physical Pokemon, which should easily allow Tyranitar to survive one of the two priority moves, especially because the Steel Gem was used last turn to pick up the knockout on Thundurus Eye. So very favorable position for Plusle now. Yeah, he played intelligently with the lead there, didn't take any risks, was able to use Hitmontop to do what it does, and he's in a very safe position now.
Yeah, Tyranitar can pick up a KO with the Fire Punch, and obviously Hitmontop is threatening with Fake Out, and that Intimidate is big. But he's thinking about it. He needs to make the right move here because both Pokemon can protect and completely ruin what Plusle's I can't think of the word. I'm just at a loss here.
The battle has left him speechless.
Yeah, I'm speechless. He needs to pick it up. Pick up the right KO here, and keep this momentum going. There we go.
I'd probably go on the offensive if I was him. There's always the chance that they're fully paralyzed here, so I might just click the close combat button and hope for the best.
And he did not for that. Interesting switch to Cresselia. I guess because he had a free switch because Aaron was going to double protect. He gets his Cresselia in, but I still don't kind of get why, because Scizor is likely faster and can do some sizable damage there.
Yeah, we saw that last game, right?
He hasn't shown the Hidden Power Fire, so maybe he's got that in his pocket.
Yeah, he could. Cresselia, slower, we learned that last game. At least in Scissor. Should still move before Breloom, and it should be able to survive the Bug Bite from here. So if he wants to go that route, he could do it. Uh, Seems like a little dangerous of a maneuver, but especially because like a critical hit, bug bite could start the game trending the other direction in a hurry. But if he does have hidden power fire, it would help him close the game out here. Though I think if I was Plusle and I did have hidden power fire, I probably wouldn't have put myself in a position where I had to show it. I think he could have closed the game out without it and saved the information. So even if that was the case, I think it'd be a bit of a strange decision. But if he does have the psychic Pokemon out threatening Braylon now, Hitmontop can beat away and Scissor with close combat or something. I guess if he wants to use the psychic move instead of hidden power. So still a good position. I don't want to take that away from him. Just sort of a strange way to play out the end game.
Yeah, and Plusle, he really thinks. Here we go. Aaron going for the double protect. Interesting move there. Hitmontop, Fighting Gem, close combat's going to target that Scizor. Going to do great damage. Let's see how much exactly. Leaves Scizor with 46 HP, and that's big here. Let's see what. Oh, opting for the Swords Dance instead of attacking. Interesting. And Psyshock into that Breloom, so he does not want to show Hidden Power Fire if he has it.
Yeah, I think it's more likely he doesn't have it on a Trick Room set. It's a little bit tougher to fit that way. But the Swords Dance, I mean, we were talking a little bit before about how Aaron just loves getting that off, even in the most dangerous of situations. And he uses it here in a situation where I'm not sure I can see how this is going to help him, but hopefully he knows something I don't. He is the Scissor Swords Dance expert after all.
Yeah, he could pick up KOs with Bug Bite or Bullet Punch, but +1 isn't as strong as the +2 he's used to from his Scizor. And I don't know how I feel about opting for that double protect for the Breloom. At least try to fire off a Mach Punch, maybe.
I mean, I think I like the double protect just because he's in such a bad position here anyway that like you kind of have to gamble if you want to get yourself back in the game. And like I think he could probably knock out Hitmontop pretty cleanly now if he double tapped the priority moves in that slot. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't want to be too critical of the way Aaron's playing this because it's not like he really had much of a condition to try to recover the game from after the way the first few turns went. So he hasn't played the end game badly. It just I don't see how this was supposed to help him recover it, I guess.
We're seeing the weakness of these really heavy offensive teams where, if they lose the momentum, it's hard to get it back.
Yeah, I think you're right. They snowball really hard one way or the other. Either you have a great game and you kind of blow the other side out, like last game, which was a 3-1 in Aaron's favor, or you get games like this game where it's 3-2 the other way right now and looks all but over. I think that's part of why a lot of the teams that go deep in Nationals and Worlds tend to be at least a little bit more defensive, which helps you recover from those deficits a bit and sometimes switch around and avoid getting in those deficits to begin with. But Aaron knows what he's doing, so like we mentioned at the beginning of the match, he's played this style a long time, been successful with it.
Seems like he protected that or predicted that Helping Hand or the Bug Bite that did take the KO and Helping Handed for Hitmontop, which should get a strong close combat. No, did he do something? I guess I must have missed something.
Yeah, Helping Hand the other way.
Okay.
So, I mean, Plusle must have been
All
predicting
right.
the double priority move on Hitmontop, and it used Helping
Yeah.
Hand, and then
Okay.
kind of hard to tell because you got the foreign names here. I wish we could turn the nicknames off on the stream the way TPCI does when we're playing live events. But yeah, Helping Hand the other way. So ends up being a great move for Aaron because of a sort of odd move by Plusle there. I would probably have just used close combat to ensure I was keeping the momentum, guarantee a knockout that turn. But we should see Tyranitar come in here. The last two Pokemon both sides now, and Tyranitar should fairly easily be able to. I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it could fairly easily close the game out because even though Sandstorm will knock out Breloom this turn, Tyranitar is at least a little bit of danger. And strange things could happen with Hitmontop getting knocked out here. Like we were mentioning last turn, there was a threat of that happening. So, but Tyranitar similarly doesn't necessarily want to expose itself because it could be knocked out too. I guess it's not completely impossible for Aaron to take this, but a simple double target on Scissor slot should end this one.
Yeah, big game for Plusle. He, even though I think he made some misplays, he should pick this up, like you said, barring a big misplay here. Aaron is really thinking about what he needs to do. He needs to play this out perfectly to pick up the win and make it to the finals. Of course, he still has game three if he loses this, so he's not completely out of it.
Yeah, one of the
Uh,
important things of the defensive team there is picking up that first game. A lot of pressure on you in the subsequent games in a best of three if you're using something that's a little less sturdy, just because one bad sacrifice can end it. So could be worse.
he's thinking about this. The Hitmontop is -1/-1 in the defense area, so I mean it's not going to be as defensive when it takes a hit. And here comes the bullet punch from Scizor, targeting the Hitmontop. Picks up the KO. That could be big.
Oh wow, that's
And here
so
comes the
Aaron knows
Mach
these calcs.
Punch.
If anyone would.
He does have the Choppleberry. Barring a crit, should survive because Breloom is -1, and it does. Here comes the Fire Punch, correctly targeting the Scizor, and with sand damage, he should pick up this game. 1-1 for Plusle.
Pretty exciting ending, though. I'm going to have to give Aaron credit there. Even though he doesn't pull out the comeback, I appreciate that he doesn't just give up when he ended up in a pretty insurmountable looking 2-4 disadvantage there. He brings it back to a really respectable 1-0, and maybe it was one misplay away from being able to take this game. I think that's really important. Like, he didn't probably get any real useful information out of the second half of that game other than Fire Punch, which we saw pretty early. But at least he tried, and if his opponent had made a mistake or two, he would have been able to steal that game. And I think you have to do that in games like this. At least give your opponent a chance to mess up and hand it to you. As I guess classless as that might sound, even though it doesn't work out here. Plus, is a good player and isn't just going to choke it up. But you've got to do everything you can to keep yourself in the game and give yourself a chance to win as long as you can. And I respect the competitor and Aaron there playing that one out.
Yeah, even a crit could have actually swayed that in Aaron's favor. 6% chance, but he had that chance to pick it up.
Yeah, I think even playing it to a position where he could have won the game and a crit at the end there was pretty impressive considering how far behind he was, which somewhat shows the power of his scissor. It's not my favorite scissor set, but he has proven again and again that it's an extremely effective set if you want to build around it. And he has no trouble doing that with about 37 different teams so far this season, all of which feature the kind of that same like scissor Tyranitar, usually Cresselia core. And he did it again here, and pretty impressive comeback, even though it didn't work out there. And I guess we've talked a lot about Aaron, but impressive game by Plusle too, right? He got a big advantage early by playing the first few turns much better than Aaron did, and just kind of held on to the game. Didn't do anything too crazy in the second half of the game to make sure he kept control of it, and definitely deserved that win in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, outside of a few questionable plays, in my opinion, he played that pretty spectacularly, and he figured out a way to beat Aaron, and despite me saying he needed that Thunderous, he proved to me he didn't. And so here we go into game three. The winner of this will reach the finals of the Nugget Bridge Invitational here. Aaron Zhang, Cybertron on the bottom, is your defending champion, and Plusle is the underdog. He's the 15th seed, snuck in at the end, and he's putting a hurt on the past rounds, and that Trick Room team is shown to be powerful. And Scott, you have the insight. What do you think about the Trick Room teams?
I like that he chose not to go with the Trick Room there, even though I was kind of talking between games about how I thought it was smart to use it as an advantage against Aaron's team. I just feel like it's tough to get too many openings to attack with Escavalier against Aaron's team, even though Trick Room's a pretty good way to control speed against it. And he showed that he didn't need Trick Room to use Tyranitar effectively against Aaron's team. So probably a better play there to play that the way he did. The 4 Pokemon he used in that game were all important, and I would expect him to probably use the same 4 in this final game. So I thought he picked a pretty good solution there. And we're talking about Plusle being an underdog here, and I think the seeds in the Nugget Bridge Invitational always are a little strange just because it only factors in online tournaments, and some people take them more seriously than others. But Plusle's hardly an inexperienced player. He dominated the senior scene in Europe pretty hard this year. He was always pretty much but it seemed like he's about 300 points ahead of everyone in some of those Wi-Fi tournaments. I swear it was day 2 of the tournament. He's I'm at 1900 already, and admittedly, in the Masters tournament's a little bit harder, but I'd be at 1650 at the time, and I don't know. He was a machine. So Plusle's a good player. I'd expect him to do really well at Worlds. So it's not too surprising to me that he's competing well with Aaron here. I think once Plusle graduates to Masters, he'll be a big threat there too. So, yeah, good player that I imagine a lot of the Americans in our audience especially haven't seen play too much. But, take a good look at Plusle here because you're going to be stuck with him for a few years, I'm pretty sure.
And here we go, directly into game 3. Winner take all. The winner of this will reach the finals of the Invitational. And Aaron's camera fell down. Here we go. Plusle leading with the same leads as he predicted. And Aaron opting to change, I believe. Yes. He doesn't want to use that high dry gun anymore. Opted for the Tyranitar. Interesting move there.
I hope that he didn't pick Hydreigon this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I commented on game 1 that I assumed that he'd go one or the other with the Tyranitar Hydreigon thing, and I definitely do think his Tyranitar is likely the better choice here. Hydreigon just kept getting baited into Draco Meteoring, things that he probably shouldn't have Draco Meteored, so just by virtue of not being on the field to be exploited, probably a good choice by Aaron. But Tyranitar is a pretty good matchup with most of the Pokemon on Plusle's side. Obviously it's about even with another Tyranitar, assuming they both have fighting moves, though Aaron Minute of the Chapelberry. It's good against Thundurus, it's good against Cresselia. It's horrible against Hitmontop and Escavalier, but still, I mean, when you're good against half of the Pokemon your opponent likely picked, it's a good Pokemon to bring in the match.
I think we saw in earlier round that Aaron is using the Choice Scarf, so it could be big here in picking up a KO from either Thundurus or hopefully he does have that Chople, so he's not going to get a KO there, but he's going to do sizable damage with a Scarf.
Here's hoping he double targeted here. This could be a quick disadvantage for him. Oh, I guess it won't matter.
Plusle switching out, and we got Hitmontop intimidating and Tyranitar protecting, and Volcarona Rage Powdering. We got a bunch of different and interesting moves from both players. Rock Slide is going to do nothing to Hitmontop because it avoided, so kind of a dead turn there.
Yeah, we end up with the whole turn being a wash. Sort of. No damage done, but Plusle ends up in a much, much better position when he started the turn in. He's got Hitmontop out, threatening the fake out. He got intimidated out in Tyranitar. He learned Rage Powder from Volcarona, which we hadn't seen yet, although I think he's an experienced enough player, but he probably expected a Rage Powder set on a team this offensive, especially a team that doesn't have Hitmontop on Aaron's side. You'd assume that it's that Rage Powder, like half hybrid, or hybrid offensive support thing. So probably nothing too surprising there, but bad position now for Aaron.
Aaron opting to protect. And Rock Slide. That Hitmontop doesn't like getting hit. It avoids the Rock Slide again. Not very much damage to the Tyranitar, and Hitmontop. Another wash turn. Not really anything happening. You think not going for that fake out hurt there?
I mean, it did in the sense that now he got flinched, and we know that with the power of 2020 hindsight. But I didn't think it was a bad play. I probably would have done it the other way around and close combated Tyranitar while I was using a rock move with my own Tyranitar. But I think the general logic of that move was good. I think part of the secret of having fake out is not using it at every opportunity and just using it to create offensive opportunities for you. So I thought that was a pretty good play by him, but obviously didn't work out because of the flinch there. Otherwise, he would have at least won the damage trade this turn. I think he's still in a much better position with Tyranitar Hitmontop out against Volcarona Tyranitar. So Aaron may have actually preferred for his own Tyranitar to get knocked out there to give him the free switch. So he wastes his Protect and Volcarona and now is still in the same situation he was in the previous turn where he's in a position where his opponent has control and he probably doesn't have any safe switches because he's using such an offensive and frail team.
Aaron opted to keep his Scarf Tyranitar in and keep Rock Sliding. Not very effective stuff. So I assume he wants his Tyranitar to be knocked out so he get a free switch.
Get some good damage out.
Yeah, he's getting some damage going here. Heat Wave and Rock Slide, double hits, and there's a crit on that Hitmontop, crit on Tyranitar. Big there. Hitmontop does survive and fires off close combat onto Volcarona. That was a misclick, or what are you thinking there, Scott?
I'm assuming he was expecting a switch there, but didn't get it. Really odd battle so far, and Aaron is sort of inexplicably at a large advantage now. So apparently it wasn't mixed click, but just a bizarre way to end up where we're at here. Like Aaron, as I kind of mentioned before, he doesn't really have any defensive switches. His other 4 Pokemon are Hydreigon, who he probably didn't pick. So his last 3 are most likely some combination of Tornadus, who's also not great in the back, and Scissor and Breloom, like in Game 2. And you can't really switch any of those Pokemon in here. Even Rock Slide would do decent damage to them, and Close Combat would almost knock them out. So he was kind of just forced to take it with Tyranitar and Volcarona there and try to get as much damage out as he could. And you would have expected him to end up in a big hole by not being able to switch. But the combination of flinches and critical hits and misclicks have led to him ending up in a rather large health advantage in spite of kind of playing from a really terrible position. And I don't know. Sometimes it's just Pokemon. Weird things happen, and that was a bizarre turn 2 through turn 4 in this game.
Aaron could easily pick up both KOs here, and he went from not really looking very good, and now he could pick this game up really easily because I think that misclick really hurt this game for Plusle.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to leave Scarftar alive any longer than you need to, just because it's constantly threatening those flinches and the spread damage, which adds up after a while, as we've seen here. And this game's going to be really tricky for him now.
He does want to save that Hitmontop, though. I assume for future Intimidates, because it is really low and it's going to be knocked out due to the sand. Tyranitar using Protect, looking for that Mach Punch, and he's not going to get it. And here comes Tyranitar missing everything, and Breloom uses Spore on that Protect. So we have another, sort of dead turn. We've seen a lot of these this game.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice prediction on both sides there. Plusle wins the Battle of the Minds there by switching in to the slot that wasn't being spored there. Aaron knew that Plusle was going to have to switch one of the 2 slots there because he couldn't just let that play out the way he went, and he guessed with the Spore and guessed wrong. So Plusle keeps a little advantage there that he's going to have to switch out this next turn.
And we have to remember that Cresselia does have Chesto Berry, so Breloom, hopefully doesn't walk into that because, Aaron does know that information, and a misclick could ruin it for him. Plusle decides to save his Tyranitar, and Hitmontop's going to take a Rock Slide and should knock it out, yes. And Breloom does opt for the Spore. I'm assuming he was targeting the Tyranitar slot because that seems like an interesting move there.
Yeah, I mean, he's only eaten that Chesterberry twice, so I mean, he's probably still got bits of Chesterberry all over his Scissor's disgusting yellow mouth. So he should really have remembered that. I'm hoping that he did that on purpose because he has a secret plan that's much smarter than anything I can think of. Otherwise, it would probably not have made that move. But now the speed control advantage is at least partially the other direction now. Though the priority for Mach Punch is still pretty threatening, even with Cresselia in the field next to Tyranitar. He's probably going to want to get his own Tyranitar finally out of here if he can. It should be a reasonably free turn because double intimidated Scarf, Rock Slide, and Trick Room is probably the least threatening thing I've ever heard of in my life. But I will say I'd like that Plusle kept Hitmontop alive for that extra turn there to get that free Intimidate off into Breloom and Tyranitar. He saved a turn's worth of attacks by just coming out and fainting and moving the Spore over to Cresselia and that Chesterberry and get the Intimidate off. I think that was a big play that he should have made in Game 1, didn't, and I'm proud of him. See that adjustment in Game 3. You see players improving throughout the series, learning what they need to do to take care of their opponents, and good play by him there.
Yeah, they made it this far, so they're no slouches when it comes to best of threes. Both of them have made it, through 2 other people to get here. And it looks like Bopper and Baz are in Game 3 as well, so we're moving along here. And here comes the Fire Punch from Tyranitar. Interesting move. They're all just sort of making weird moves here in this game.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that move
they're-
actually, even though it
yeah,
doesn't
either
work.
they're over predicting or
I
just
mean, I think I would have
doing
made
what they
that prediction
can.
too. Like, I mean, I've been talking all game, like, oh, it's Aaron. His fourth Pokemon is going to be Scissor with flashing neon signs. And like I said, you've got double intimidated Scarf Tyranitar and Trick Room. You've got to assume it's going to come out. And what would it come out for? Well, it'd be that Scissor. He predicts correctly that Breloom is going to protect and avoid Psyshock there, because he want Aaron to want to keep it alive to Mach Punch Tyranitar. So he expects Scissor coming in that slot, bringing it in the Trick Room. I thought that was a good prediction. It just Aaron decides to not risk it and leaves Tyranitar out to protect his Scissor there. I guess, like I've said before, he of all people knows how to keep it, avoid it from getting knocked out there, and he cleverly avoids switching Scissor into certain defeat.
Yeah, he probably predicted that Fire Punch, and he's a lot better than us in here in that situation, and he's gonna get his Scizor in eventually, I assume, because he's Aaron and he loves his Scizor. Plusle's got a big turn to go here because that Breloom is threatening the Tyranitar, but he does have that Cresselia, which is faster. But Mach Punch, of course, ignores speed, so this is a big turn for both players. We'll see what happens. I mean, what are you expecting from both of them, Scott?
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, there's two things Aaron can do in this side. He can either go for the Mach Punch or switch Breloom out for probably Scissor, expecting Psyshock in that slot. I think we've probably see the Scissor switch this time, but I guess we'll see. I would have expected to see it last turn, and I would have gotten my poor Scissor set on fire. So I guess I'm not quite in the head of this game yet, but this time that's probably what I expect. Aaron has a bunch of fun options, but all of them are really dangerous.
Okay, here we go. Tyranitar opting to Fire Punch. Breloom, which isn't doing anything, is going to take that knockout. That seems big right there. You may have predicted the Scizor, but he picks up that KO anyways. And Ice Beam on this Tyranitar. Gets a crit. Not very much damage. And here comes Rock Slide. Again, not very much damage because it is got 2 Intimidates off against it, and it is a spread move, so we're not going to see much damage there. And let's see if, yep, here's our friend Scizor. You know better than anyone.
So what I'm going to do is make as many predictions as possible that would have led to Scissor being hit by Fire Punch. Just in case Aaron's listening to the stream, I'm going to try as hard as I can to make his Scissor faint, apparently. But, I mean, I guess we're right about the last Pokemon here, and even though we have the incredibly powerful, intimidated Tyranitar just firing those rock slides away, not a bad slot for Aaron to be in, finally. Scissor's still, better late than never out here to help deal with Tyranitar. Aaron's own Tyranitar is, just going to slowly dealing with the Rock Slide game. And sooner or later, Trick Room will end, and Rock Slide will actually be a flinch threat again, even if it'll probably never do damage for the rest of the game, barring a crit. So, could be worse. And Aaron's just kind of stalling out Trick Room in one of the more bizarre ways I can remember. He probably regrets not Mach Punching last turn, but again, one of those games of chicken, will Tyranitar expose itself so that I can get an attack off, or will it cover the slot, with the Fire Punch, perhaps in case of Scissor. Last time he got it wrong, and it seems like Plusle's winning more of those little mental battles this series, and that's why he seemed like he's ahead most of these games.
Plusle's Cresselia hasn't shown Hidden Power Fire, so it doesn't seem to be a threat to me. And Aaron is going to opt to knock out that Tyranitar and leave that Cresselia exposed to 2 very strong Pokemon that can easily take care of it. Yep, he shows the Ice Beam. Again on the Tyranitar. Not much damage, and here's a fully powered Rock Slide, finally. And not much damage. To me, it seems like Aaron will pick this game up with an E next turn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we got Thunderous here. It's only 2-2,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
still, close game. Cresselia need 2 more Ice Beams to take care of Thunderous here, or Tyranitar here. And Thunderous, again, clever adjustments by Plusle. We're the 3rd game of best of 3 here. So you'd expect him to make better decisions about preserving his counters. And again, like I mentioned earlier in the game, he kept Hitmontop alive longer to help him deal with Aaron's priority threats this game, which was smart. And again, he's leaving Thunderous alive longer to help deal with Scissor, who it walls pretty well. So smart play by Plusle so far, and I think he's still in the better position.
Yeah, Plusle making adjustments, and he could easily pull this out, actually. And he's going to get his damage off as much as he can against that Scizor, so Thunderous could take care of it. And Aaron opts to Bug Bite the Thunderous. Hopefully, he's trying to pick up a KO with a Tyranitar.
Not going to get the chance.
Yeah, he's not going to get the chance. Plusle's Electric Gem is going to take care of that Tyranitar. And Plusle is in a good spot now.
Oh, that's a
Scizor,
really big play to pick up
yes.
that knockout on Tyranitar there. I was kind of expecting that we'd see the Thunderbolt and Scissor instead, which I believe would have picked up the knockout because of the Psyshock critical hit. But I mean, obviously, he's not predicting his own critical hit, so he hits the correct target there, removes the threat of being flinched, and Plusle should be able to close this game out.
Barring crit here, Thunder should pick up this knockout and knock out our defending champion. Let's see how much damage it does. No, not enough. Psyshock will, let's see. No, 2 HP. Scizor.
Bit of a
Aaron.
choke by Aaron there.
Wow.
It's kind of a strange mistake here, but I figured that there'd be a chance of surviving Thunderbolt and Psyshock there, so I'm really surprised there wasn't a Protect last turn to start working the Sandstorm damage. You've got two Pokemon on Thunderous and Cresselia who don't have recovery and can't, or I guess Cresselia might have rest, but you've got a Pokemon on Thunderous who doesn't have recovery and can't Protect. So you think you'd start getting that Sandstorm damage rolling sooner, but he fails to do that, and he's going to have to win one more coin flip if he wants to stall out the game with Sandstorm damage now.
Yeah, that's big for him. A big misplay. Could have been in a much better position for the next turn because, this turn he's opting for his Protect, but next turn he's got to get that coin flip, and even then, that Cresselia looks like it has a lot of HP.
Yeah, he's going to need at least two heads. Whereas before, if he'd predicted correctly and the RNG hadn't changed, this would be Aaron's game.
And he picks up that coin flip.
He's going to need a 25-75 instead of a 50-50 now.
This is exciting right here. Coin flips.
The most Pokemon of Pokemon moments.
Yeah,
will it be heads or will it be tails?
Not the best way to win or lose a game, but
it will be neither heads or tails. What?
It'll land right on
the rest here.
Oh, he's opting for Bullet Punch there. What?
Aaron, you fool!
Oh.
You fool!
He choked it away.
I guess I can understand not wanting to win a show match, I guess, at a 25-75, but I mean, you gotta flip the coins, especially because he took the first 50-50. Like, why bother taking the other Protect? Like, oh my god, that was just an exciting finish, but a strange one. Like, if he'd taken the first Protect or when he attacked the first time, or at least flipped the second Protect, like, I don't understand what he was thinking at the end there.
Wow, I maybe he assumed he lost already and didn't think he had a chance. That was a wild finish there.
I mean, wow. I do like the finish just because I think Plusle wins that game without the close combat misclick anyway. So probably what happened is what should have happened. But oh my gosh, just a bizarre way to get there. I feel a little bad for Aaron, assuming he didn't kind of nudge that game in the direction he wanted it to go after the misclick earlier in the game. But it's a strange way for a defending champion to go out. Still a great performance by him, I'd say. He makes it to the semis this time and wins the first time, but a weird way to lose a series.
Yeah, wow. Not much more we can say there. The other match, the other semifinal, Mr. Bopper has dethroned our number 1 seed, Baz Anderson. So he set up the finals of Mr. Bopper versus Plusle. We'll be able to see that in just a moment.